As we transition from the summer movie season to award season and then the holiday movie season, it's the perfect quiet time to take a close look at 2015. The entire year! The sequels, original movies, and wild cards. And let's start with those sequels, as 2015 is the motherlode. Avengers, Hunger Games, Fast and Furious, Star Wars, which will be listed here as the most anticipated sequel of 2015. Patience, young movie Padawan, as we start off with number 10. The Conjuring 2, the Enfield Poltergeist, will see real-life ghost-hunting couple Ed and Lorraine Warren head to England. Another actual case pulled from their files, all of the first Conjuring. This time focusing on a single mother and her young children. What's more, the Warrens weren't the only investigators to look into this case, so expect to meet their European counterparts. Audiences loved the first Conjuring and powered the highbrow horror film to over 300 million worldwide. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are expected to return, but the only downside is that director James Wan will not. For number 9, let's really switch gears with Pitch Perfect 2. The silver screen version of Glee was another box office surprise, pulling in over 100 million worldwide. Here, the original cast also returns, including Anna Kendrick and Rebel Wilson, who are now much bigger stars, while Oscar nominee Haley Steinfeld joins the cast. And Effie makes her directorial debut. Universal is so confident they've given this sequel to the formerly fall flick a summer release date. Speaking of hot, number 8 is Magic Mike 2, whose official title is Magic Mike XXL. And this sequel will indeed be extra large as it focuses on Channing Tatum and his fellow strippers going to a stripper convention. Something Tatum really did when he was a real-life stripper in his teens. Tatum says he'll never forget stripping for an audience of 3,000 and will probably never forget seeing him do it again for Magic Mike XXL. In fact, Steven Soderbergh doesn't want to miss it either and will still serve as the director of photography even though he won't direct again. Now, number 7 isn't technically a sequel, but the Minions spin-off is definitely building on the success of the first 2 Despicable Me films. Wait a minute, are these little guys trying to say they don't need Gru? They are replacing him with Sandra Bullock's 1960s villain and will be something of an origin story for the mischievous little yellow blobs. Yet considering the minion mania that seems to be sweeping the globe, maybe they don't need anyone else. At number 6 is Ted 2, and while one might think the lawsuit against Seth MacFarlane for stealing the idea might slow the sequel down, think again. Ted 2 has already begun production, where MacFarlane is once again joined by Mark Wahlberg, the star of the only movie so far in 2014 to join the $1 billion club. And yes, the biggest joke with MacFarlane's A Million Ways to Die in the West is how far away it is from the $1 billion club, especially considering the first Ted made almost $500 million back in 2012. But with MacFarlane back behind the camera and a high concept that still has plenty of gas left in the tank, expect the multi-hyphenated comedian to rebound here, unless that lawsuit does get him. Number 5 is Jurassic World, which might have been higher on this list if not for Jurassic Park 2 and 3. But with a 14-year breather and Star-Lord, this franchise could very well roar back to life. Plus, the idea of getting to finally see this dinosaur theme park open to the public, as it's rumored to be in the film, could be too exciting an opportunity to pass up. All right, now we're getting pretty close to number 1, and competition is fierce. I'm sorry to say, but Fast and Furious 7 has to cash out at number 4. While fans are eager to say goodbye to Paul Walker's Brian O'Connor, his tragic real-life death in a sports car might make the 7th entry difficult to watch. Plus, the year-long delay could also take a toll. But still, this has been an incredibly strong franchise. It's only gotten stronger with its last 2 entries. And the addition of Jason Statham and Kurt Russell to the cast, as well as The Conjuring's James Wan behind the camera, could offer enough new elements to balance out the tribute to Walker. Oh boy, it's a tough call, but I'm actually going to have to put Avengers Age of Ultron at number 3. The sequel didn't get a strong boost out of this year's Comic-Con, its last showing at the convention before its release. And the casting of James Spader as Ultron, Elizabeth Olsen as the Scarlet Witch, and Aaron Taylor Johnson as Quicksilver didn't really generate a lot of heat. Still, Joss Whedon knocked it out of the park with the first Avengers, and this will be one of those movies that is, quite frankly, required viewing. Not to mention, Guardians of the Galaxy proved, at least so far, that Marvel Studios is not only firing on all cylinders, but has earned tremendous loyalty from audiences as a result. In fact, it's almost too easy. Are Whedon and company going to do anything to spice it up? Okay, and number 2 is is The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2. Why did this beat out Avengers Age of Ultron? Because this is the end, at least for Katniss. Rumors are swirling that Lionsgate hopes to keep this franchise alive via spin-off movies, but this is still the conclusion of the story we've been following intently since 2012. The final Twilight pulled in over $800 million, and that franchise didn't have nearly as wide appeal as The Hunger Games. While the Avengers Age of Ultron is simply the next Marvel movie, Mockingjay Part 2 will be the end, and expect fan anticipation to be at a feverish pitch. And it's because of the fans and this whole list of sequels that Star Wars Episode 7 has to be number 1. Without Star Wars, would franchises like these even exist today? That said, despite Star Wars' legendary status, director J.J. Abrams has a Herculean task before him of earning back audiences' respect after those prequels. But with teasers that have spotlighted world building and practical special effects, it seems Abrams has the right priorities. However, the other reason that Star Wars Episode 7 earns the top spot is that it will be the first major Hollywood blockbuster to feature prominent and maybe even lead roles for women and people of color. That's not only admirable, but could translate into box office results Hollywood has only previously dreamed of, and they have a pretty good imagination. So that's Beyond the Trailers list of the top 10 sequels of 2015. Share your own thoughts down below, and be sure to check out my list of the top 10 original films and wildcards right now.